Real quickly before we jump into the video, I got a couple extra codes for DLC 3 of COD WW2 on PlayStation 4. One, I have a giveaway going over on Twitter right now, which I'll probably pick by the end of the day, but I also want to extend it out to you guys because we did one on the stream earlier, we did one on Twitter, so kind of just to cover all the main bases of where my socials are, I want to let you guys know about this. So if you guys are interested in this, drop a like down below, maybe subscribe to the channel, and of course, drop a comment so I can pick a random commenter so I can get in touch with you in order to give you that code if you end up winning. So again, real simple, I don't do this like ever, but I had a couple extra codes, so I figured why not? I can't use more than one, so let's see if you guys need them. But that said, let's jump right into the regularly scheduled content. So actually, as of yesterday, today's the first day the DLC is out for PlayStation 4, but yesterday we actually got a massive update on top of what you would have already needed to download in terms of getting that DLC. The update yesterday was about 2.5 gigabytes, if I'm not mistaken, which for what was included in sort of the patch notes may seem like a little bit of a lot of space for maybe not as much as you may expect, but there are some things, of course, that were hidden in there that we don't necessarily always see within the patch notes. So today we're going to be breaking down everything that changed within yesterday's update for Call of Duty World War II. So that said, let's jump right into it. So let's start at the very beginning. When you initially first jump on and you end up jumping into multiplayer, the first thing you'll see is a brand new quick menu UI. We end up seeing that it is now no longer Captain Butcher. We now no longer see the zombie-infested headquarters in that preview, and so therefore it's just a little bit more of a relaxed, more back to normal approach that we end up seeing. And of course, Corporal Green is actually there. Yesterday, if you caught this before it went live, at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, that's when everything ended up going back to normal. All the modes and everything that we'll talk about a little bit further, they ended up going away as well. If you caught it yesterday, right after you downloaded this update, then you actually saw that Butcher was still there for a little bit of time, and we also still had that icon for the Attack the Undead headquarters, but it wasn't actually there in terms of when you went and checked it out. So again, that new menu UI is probably the first thing that you'll notice initially because that's where you're defaulted to, but once again, when we talk about it, our headquarters is now back to normal as well. Again, we previously saw it with the Attack of the Undead thematics. We ended up seeing a darker theme of really gritty and really zombie-infested headquarters as well, and honestly, I love that change up and curveball. That crossover event still is probably one of my favorite things World War II has done, just because it's so, again, quirky and you wouldn't really necessarily think about it because you always think zombies and multiplayer are separate, but I thought it was a very cool experience. It was a lot of fun, but now we're back to that regular headquarters with Corporal Green manning the station. Again, we end up having the green coming back and everything. Not even like how it was in Blitzkrieg, where the headquarters was very barren and brown and desolate like that. This is just right back to what it normally was previously. But that said, moving along from the headquarters, also what we mentioned again, Corporal Green is back, so there's a bunch of Quartermaster changes that you may or may not have noticed. Firstly, that again, Corporal Green is back. That's something that Butcher probably won't be back until the next event, whether that be next week or the week after, or maybe the week after that, we don't know at the moment, but he'll be returning soon enough. But for the time being, Corporal Green is manning the station. The next change in the Quartermaster actually comes a little bit with how the Quartermaster has its display overall. With this update, the Quartermaster actually got a slight redesign. You might notice now that at the top there is an L1 and an R1 little tabular option that you can end up choosing, to which you can go to your contracts or your deals, and from that you can end up seeing the deals, of course, have what you can use for armory credits and then your COD points as well, but then that's also where you see your collections. And if you go into the collections, that's also where you end up seeing that we have a complete redesign of how the collections are listed themselves. Previously, again, it was all at the top, the tabs there that you could cycle through and then see everything that you could scroll down through, but now it brings you to almost a landing page where you have the operations listed right there, where you have Operation Overlord, Winter Siege, Resistance, Blitzkrieg, Undead, and Special. And so from there you can end up going in, entering those collections, and then you can see everything that is listed throughout that collection accordingly. So it's kind of, once again, just a slight redesign that I actually really enjoy. The only thing that I don't necessarily like is that you can't see the supply drop card if you don't have the item for each of the collections unlocked. That's something that just shows the blank back of the card at that point, but at the end of the day, I guess it isn't that big of a deal. But just for somebody like me that likes to take, say, something of the supply drop card and maybe use it for a thumbnail every so often, it was really helpful that you could see that beforehand instead of having to unlock everything. But additionally, we also see that the PTRS is the weapon contract for this week. It's available for 50 sniper kills in an hour's time frame for 5,000 armory credits. And again, as with all the other ones, this isn't necessarily the hardest challenge to do, but it's something they just have to give you the challenge instead of just letting you buy it outright. I don't know why you can't just buy it outright, but again, the challenge is very minimal, and so you should be able to complete it. You have an hour in-game time to do that, and so therefore, even if you just play, say, War or something, you probably knock it out in one side or two. But regardless, this is definitely a weapon I think you should go for. It's a ton of fun. It's an awesome weapon. It's a one-shot anywhere on the body, and even through a lot of different surfaces it'll be a one-shot still, so definitely worth it, and it's also the most up-to-date weapon contract we've ever seen in World War II thus far. So definitely worth giving it a go if you guys have the armory credits to spend and you don't have the weapon already. But that was added in as of yesterday's update and made live today at that 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time refresh that we normally see. And since we're mentioning contracts, I guess we should mention the orders as well, though of course those just will happen regardless, so they aren't necessarily tied directly to that of the update, but it was something that of course was bundled in with an update as is. But again, those you'll see the dailies rotate out throughout the rest of the week, but the weeklies were added in of get 50 assists as the Cavalry Division, call in 30 streaks as the Cavalry Division, and then also get 350 kills in Domination. So that's some stuff you can look out for this week that was also once again refreshed with everything that came with the update and then refreshed today. After that, you'll notice that the Find Match has a few different changes here with this. The first thing being the Attack of the Undead event is offline, so that means now that Relic and Horde Point are gone. You'll also see that it reverts back to the older Find Match UI that we've seen previously with less icons, and of course without Relic of the Undead and Horde Point being on that main tab. And then also one thing to note with that kind of stuff though is that Groston House is actually still online, as we saw similarly with Shipment 1944, and it's also in that playlist category of the featured tab where we have Shipment 1944 and Carrington 24/7. Groston House now is a 24/7 playlist as well. So that's awesome. The one thing that is also awesome out of the Attack of the Undead event is that Infected is of course staying. That's now in the party modes, which is awesome to see it become a staple of the game, but one thing that I'm hoping is that maybe the population stays up. I'd love to see that happen, but it might see a dip because again, as it's not a part of the new event and it's sectioned so far off compared to the other modes, I feel like the party games are kind of tucked and hidden away in my mind for those Find Match options. But again, Infected is in that party modes tab now, so that's something you can look forward to in terms of staying and has been adjusted as of the update. The next thing that also changed with the Find Match is that it added the DLC 3 pack mosh pits as its own separate category. Now we'll talk a little bit about that in a second, but this added the United Front mosh pit, a hardcore mosh pit, and Operation Supercharge 24/7, all added with double XP on it for all three of those for PlayStation 4 players. Now, as it stands right now, Xbox One and PC obviously don't have a double XP playlist, but that again, as we mentioned in yesterday's video, will even out over time because we'll see Xbox and PC get those double XP playlist in 30 days, whereas PlayStation 4 will not have it at that point. So it will even out in time, but right now, again, it is kind of flip-flopped where one console has double XP and the other does not. But in terms of DLC 3, that's where we ended up seeing the DLC added in on top of that and made live for everything by this update. 3 multiplayer maps, that being Market Garden, Stalingrad, as well as Monte Cassino, 1 war map of Operation Supercharge, and then the Tortured Path is the 1 Zombies map, or I guess 3-in-1 Zombies map that we end up getting on top of that. So definitely awesome. PlayStation 4 only currently, but it's definitely something that, of course, once it comes to Xbox One and PC, everyone will have access to it, and it's definitely a lot of fun. If you guys are up on the fence again on trying to get it, I'd say maybe try it out if you have a couple of bucks to spend here on the game. That's something that the maps are, of course, a nice refresh to adding more into that playlist and rotation of maps. You end up getting, of course, an awesome Zombies experience, and War is actually probably my favorite War map that we've seen so far of the DLC. It's probably Supercharge, Intercept, and then Husky in that power ranking slot for me, but again, I still think that it's awesome that we end up seeing something brand new, so if you guys have the opportunity to do so, try it out. Then perhaps the biggest thing that the update changed for everybody, and this is something that everybody got, not just PlayStation 4 users, that being the new Cavalry Division, and which is now the 7th entry into the divisions within Call of Duty World War II, and with it we end up having 4 brand new abilities that correspond with the rank. We end up getting the Specialist Basic Training, as well as the ZK383, a brand new SMG within the game for prestiging that. There's also a variant that you can get for max prestiging, if I'm not mistaken, going all the way up and getting that new division at the highest rank possible that you get for the ZK on top of that. Plus that update added in the brand new Wanderlust as well as Escalation Basic Trainings. Wanderlust essentially being that of a gun game within a basic training. So instead of ending up hitting triangle or Y or whatever you have bound on your PC to swap weapons, instead of swapping to your secondary, you'll actually swap to a brand new weapon entirely, to which it has the opportunity to spawn in with up to 6 attachments on it. So you'll get some class setups that you actually can't even make in regular creative class. So it's pretty awesome with that, and I actually think that I saw one as crazy as the PTRS with a silencer. I don't know if my eyes deceived me because I swapped very quickly during it, but it might have been that, but I was kind of like, wait, what? So in that sense, again, you'll see that there are many that you might not actually ever be able to do, but that's a lot of fun to play around with, more so fun than practical. Then the Escalation Basic Training is something that for about 6 seconds, 5 to 6 seconds after you get a kill, your aim down sight time is cut in half. So So it's insane if you're looking to snap on to players. If you're an LMG player, if you're a sniper, you're an SMG player, AR, whatever playstyle, it really helps in all situations. So that's definitely awesome. And Specialist, of course, with that division tied in with it, you also get those 3 basic trainings at 200, 400, 600 score, and then at 800 you get 15 basic trainings, which are the full pool of selection for basic trainings you get with Specialists. So that said, it's absolutely awesome. The Cavalry division is a very fun update here with this, and of course, while some people might not necessarily be too enthralled with the mainstay of the shield, that being probably the biggest thing you get out of this, it is something that I think is fun to play around with a little bit. Now, the final 2 things that I want to talk about here in this video are actually ones that you might not know about all that much, and deal with weaponry in particular. One we'll talk about firstly is that of the ZK383, the brand new SMG, as a part of, once again, the division prestige reward for the brand new Cavalry division. Whenever you go and look at this, of course, you have the base default variant, which you get for just prestiging. Then you have the Lion, which is a variant that is apparently going to be that of the max prestige reward, or at least that's what I anticipate it to be as. But whenever you go and take a look at it in either the paint jobs or in the zombies locations for the create a class, you can actually end up seeing more weapon variants added in on top of this, which may hint towards more coming in the very near future, maybe out of supply drops and or collections, because that's how it's actually told. Whenever you go and say, look at the Lion variant right now, it says complete collections or get them out of supply drops, but we don't have that option just yet. But we see one that is my favorite called the Checked Out. We see one called the Thunder Log. Then we see the Heroic Silver Saint 2. And then of course we also see the Lion. So by doing this, by going either into the paint jobs or into zombies, you can see 3 ones that are right now hidden to the public view in multiplayer. So definitely intriguing to see when these will come out, but of course they will probably come out relatively soon, maybe even with a new event, which leads me into the next thing I want to talk about, because there actually are 3 brand new weapons we see in the paint job layers and nowhere else, but they're there. They indicate, of course, things that will be coming, and we've seen this happen before in terms of the Blitzkrieg update adding things into the paint job layering, in which we saw a bunch of things for new weapons, and also what ended up being the escalation basic training, not necessarily the commando division. But when you take a look at it, when you go all the way down in the World War II category for the layers in the paint jobs, you end up seeing that we have, of course, the escalation, the new Cavalry division, the specialist bonus, the Wanderlust icons, all for that in the layers for paint jobs. But on top of that, at the very bottom, you see the new ZK layer, but also one for a dagger, one that looks to be the Delisle, and then one which my chat pointed out in stream today as the AVS-36. Now, these, of course, are weapons we don't have in World War II at the very moment, but it is something that we may see coming very soon, whether that be next week for a 4th of July event, an update like that, or if we end up seeing something like an event coming in 2 weeks, how we normally see that average work out. I don't know, but it sure looks like we're going to be getting some stuff very, very soon, as it's already in the game files. That's already prepped and ready to go in the paint job layering, so I guess we'll see if that is what it turns out to be, but that may actually explain why we saw the Delisle in the DLC 3 trailer, but we haven't seen it just yet. So, of course, keep your eye out for that. That was also something that was added in with the update as of yesterday. And after that, only a couple of technical things were changed around in terms of you can end up checking the full listing out for that if you want to. I'll detail it here briefly for you guys, but Sledgehammer posted on Reddit a little bit of a patch notes update for that one. But in terms of changes, they fixed some issues where, say, on war camera point of views were zoomed in for some reason. There were some things with the firing range, some contracts, some division slots that were changed around and fixed. There were little bugs there. Audio ended up cutting out in some areas when you were editing paint job decals. One thing that was interesting is that the Cavalry 3 improved objective capabilities was detailed upon, in which they end up mentioning that search and destroy as well as demolition has quicker plant and defuse times, so maybe meaning that demolition is going to be coming back sometime soon. Then we also see again some stuff in terms of UI fixes and improvements across the board for zombies and multiplayer. So again, smaller things like that, but that really is where we're going to wrap up this video here today, talking about everything the update really changed. So hopefully you guys found it insightful. What do you guys think of this new update? Do you guys like it? Do you not necessarily enjoy it too much? Do you love it, hate it, whatever it may be? Feel free to let me know your thoughts down there in the comment section down below. But that said, hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. If you guys did, make sure to drop a like down below. And of course, if you guys are new to the channel, make sure you guys subscribe so you don't miss a single thing regarding Call of Duty World War II, anything in particular regarding updates, news, information, DLC, best class setups, tips, tricks, all that good stuff. We got you covered here up on the channel. So if any of that interests you, make sure that subscribe button so you don't miss a single thing. Also, Also, if you guys want to follow me over on Twitter, that's the best place to get me outside of YouTube. Practically live on Twitter, so if you guys want to strike up a conversation, ask me a question, whatever it may be, link is down there in the description below. And finally, if you guys want to follow me over on Instagram, that link is also in the description below. Getting a little more active over there, so that link is there if you want to check it out. That said, hope you guys have a fantastic day. Thank you all so much for watching. Might as well espresso. Take care, and peace.